Hey class, welcome back. This is our last one for the 70s through 2000s that I'm going to do anyway, because by the time we get through with everything, it'll be about 2 weeks left of school. So I'm not going to start a new unit. I'm just going to review stuff that we've already done. So, but anyway, today we are talking about the Exxon Valdez oil spill, and it was it was the biggest man-made natural disaster or man-made disaster in the history of the world. Okay, uh, if you look here at the pictures here, you see all this. All that's oil, y'all. Uh, and about, I don't know, 11 million gallons of oil when the tanker that was carrying oil run into the reef. About 11 million gallons spilled out, and it's still it spread all the way down the coast, off the coast of Alaska, and so it made a lot of environmental damage over time. Even to this day, it still showed some effects of it. So, but that's what we're talking about: the Exxon Valdez oil spill today. And it happened on March 24th, 1989. An oil tanker called the Exxon Valdez hit a reef off the coast of Alaska, and it dumped millions of gallons of oil into the ocean. Like I said, it was one of the worst man-made environmental disasters in U.S. history.
What happened? On March 24th, 1989, an oil tanker called the Exxon Valdez hit a reef off the coast of Alaska and dumped millions of gallons of oil into the ocean. It was one of the worst man-made environmental disasters in U.S. history.
All right, so what was the Exxon Valdez? Well, it was an oil tanker that was owned by the oil company Exxon. And when the accident occurred, it was a pretty new ship. It went into service in 1986. It was 987 feet long, could carry over 50 million gallons of oil. And that's what it was carrying today, is 50 something million gallons, 53 million gallons of oil that day that it hit the reef. They got lucky that only 11 million instead of all of it came out.
What was the Exxon Valdez? The Exxon Valdez was an oil tanker owned by the oil company Exxon. When the accident occurred, it was a fairly new ship, as it first went into service in 1986. The Exxon Valdez was 987 feet long and could carry over 50 million gallons of oil.
All right, so how did this happen? The ship had just picked up 53 million gallons of oil, like I said, and was traveling south to the port of Valdez in Alaska, and then they were going to go on to Long Beach, California. The captain was Joseph Hazelwood, and he was in his quarters, and the ship's third mate was at the controls during this time. Earlier in the day, the captain had ordered them, hey, let's move the ship out of the normal shipping lanes because we don't want to hit icebergs. Because we hit icebergs, we talked about the Titanic earlier this year. If you hit an iceberg, it's going to punch a hole in the boat, and the boat's going to sink. So they had moved out of the normal lanes they had, and wanted to avoid hitting icebergs.
How did the spill happen? The ship had just picked up 53 million gallons of oil and was traveling south from the port of Valdez, Alaska to Long Beach, California. Captain Joseph Hazelwood was in his quarters, and the ship's third mate was at the controls. Earlier, the captain had ordered the ship to move out of the normal shipping lanes to avoid icebergs.
All right. So the captain had given orders, turn back into the normal shipping lanes at a certain point. When you get to a certain point, turn it back. But that turn to get back into normal shipping lanes was never made. And at 12:04 a.m., the ship crashed into the Bligh Reef, which is a large hole was ripped into the side of the ship, and oil began to spill into the Prince William Sound and the Pacific Ocean. So there was miscommunication. All right, they were supposed to move back into their normal shipping lanes at a certain point, but they never did. So when they did, they got into shallow water and they hit the Bligh Reef, and it ripped this big hole into the side of the boat, and it started spilling out oil.
How did it happen? Continued. The captain had given orders for the ship to turn back into the shipping lanes at a specific point. Unfortunately, the turn was never made. At 12:04 a.m., the ship crashed into the Bligh Reef. A large hole was ripped into the side of the ship, and oil began to spill into Prince William Sound and the Pacific Ocean.
All right. So like I said, estimates put the total about 11 million gallons of oil is what spilled out. That's how much oil was released into the water. If you look here, I mean, that's just total oil.
How much oil was released? Estimates put the total amount of oil at around 11 million gallons.
All right, so why are oil spills bad? Okay, you don't want all this oil to get into it. If you look at some of these pictures, you get oil all over the birds, all over the animals, sea life. All right, it clings to them, and it's absorbed by the plant life too. It kills the local wildlife because they can't get it off of them. They can't fly. They can't do whatever if it's a bird. You know, over the long term, the oils can damage habitats. They can destroy breeding grounds. All right, they kill fish eggs. The oil does. So it just destroys the wildlife, destroys the plant life as well that's in the ocean.
Why is an oil spill bad? Oil spills are very bad for the surrounding environment. Oil clings to everything and is absorbed by the plant life. It kills the local wildlife, including birds, plants, marine mammals, and fish. Over the long term, oil spills can damage habitats and destroy breeding grounds.
All right, so cleaning up the mess. They had this big, huge mess because of 11 million gallons of oil spilled into the Prince William Sound. So the first plan of action was to remove the oil remaining on the damaged tanker because they didn't want more to seep out. All right, it wasn't easy because the workers had to remove the oil without causing any more to spill. So next, they put plastic devices called booms. All right, into the water to try to prevent the oil from spreading. So they didn't want it to keep spreading and spreading and spreading. So they put stuff in to keep it from spreading. Then skimmers worked to siphon up the oil from the water's surface. So all three of these things they did in order to try to clean up the mess.
Cleaning up the mess. The first plan of action was to remove the oil remaining on the damaged tanker. This wasn't easy because the workers had to remove the oil without causing any more to spill. Next, plastic devices called booms were put into the water to try and prevent the oil from spreading. Then skimmers worked to siphon up the oil from the water's surface.
All right. Despite this effort, the oil it quickly spread. Oil was found on the ocean along the coastline for hundreds of miles past where the wreckage happened. All right, and more than 10,000 workers tried to clean up the mess for the next 4 years. Billions of dollars were spent trying to clean up this spill. And you can see this some of the pictures of them cleaning up the mess back in 1989 when it happened.
Cleaning up the mess continued. Despite this effort, the oil quickly spread. Oil was found on the ocean and along the coastline for hundreds of miles. More than 10,000 workers tried to clean up the mess for the next 4 years. Billions of dollars were spent trying to clean up the spill.
All right. So did it kill any animals? Yes, it killed lots and lots of animals. The spill had a serious impact on the environment. No one's sure how many animals were killed, but estimates say there was about 250,000 birds, over 2,000 sea otters, hundreds of seals, 22 killer whales, and billions of fish eggs were killed by the spill. Like I said, the oil gets on the fish eggs and it kills them instead of, they're not going to hatch or they're not going to come out. The fish aren't. So as of 2006, there were still areas along the coast of Prince William Sound affected by the spill. That was 11 plus 6. That's 17 years after the spill. They were still being affected.
Did it kill any animals? Yes, the spill had a serious impact on the environment. No one is sure just how many animals were killed, but estimates say around 250,000 birds, over 2,000 sea otters, hundreds of seals, 22 killer whales, and billions of fish eggs were killed by the spill. As of 2006, there were still areas along the coast of Prince William Sound affected by the spill.
All right, so what happened to the Exxon Valdez? Well, it was repaired and still used as an oil tanker for many years. It was eventually converted to an ore carrier in 2012, and the ship was retired and beached in India. In 2012, it was retired and beached in India. So they repaired it and they continued to use it as an oil tanker for quite a while until they converted it into an ore carrier.
What happened to the ship? The ship was repaired and was still used as an oil tanker for many years. It was eventually converted to an ore carrier. In 2012, the ship was retired and beached in India.
All right. What was the Exxon Valdez? Comprehension questions here. Was it A, a car, B, an oil tanker, or C, a bike? It was B, an oil tanker. It was an oil
Ding, ding,
tanker.
ding. We have a winner.
Number 2, what year did the Exxon Valdez oil spill occur? Was it A, 1973, B, 1989, or C, 2019? It was B, 1989.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
Number 3, what caused the oil spill? The ship hit a reef, someone accidentally opened the wrong hatch, or C, the ship hit a whale. It was A, the ship hit a reef. It hit a reef, the Bligh Reef in the Prince William Sound. And because they did not move back to the shipping lanes as ordered by the captain earlier, so it hit the reef, and they'd moved. Remember, they had moved out of the shipping lanes to avoid icebergs, but at a certain point they were supposed to move back, and it never happened. So they wound up getting into shallow water and hitting the reef.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
Number 4, in what body of water did the oil spill occur? A, the Gulf of Mexico, B, the Atlantic Ocean, or C, the Prince William Sound? It was C, the Prince William Sound.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
And our last one, around how much oil was spilled into the ocean? A, 11 million gallons, B, 30 million gallons, or C, 5 million gallons? It was A, 11 million gallons, about what they lost out of 53 million that they had on board.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
All right, class, that is it for today. Like I said, this is my last one for this year. So we will be reviewing the rest of the time what we've gone over this year for the next couple weeks after school is over, or before school lets out. So I'll see you next year on these videos. You all have a very good day.